Hello everyone, welcome to another module in Communication System 2 course. We are studying spread spectrum techniques. So far, we have seen the conceptual understanding of spread spectrum technique. We have understood that an important attribute of spread spectrum modulation is that it can provide protection against externally generated interfering signals or internally interfering signals. Internally interfering signals will occur in case of multi-users where multiple users will be accessing the same channel in case of wireless mobile communication. The jamming signal may consist of a fairly powerful broadband noise or multi-tone waveform that is detected or that's directed at the receiver for the purpose of disrupting communications. A protection against such waveforms is provided by purposely making the information bearing signal or data signal occupy a bandwidth far in excess of the minimum bandwidth necessary to transmit it. This has the effect of making the transmitted signal assume a noise-like appearance so that it is blended into the background. The transmitted signal is thus enabled to propagate through the channel undetected by anyone who may be listening. We say that we can think of spread spectrum as a method of camouflaging the information bearing signal. We have seen this conceptually in earlier videos. Now it's a time to study various types. We have listed two types of spread spectrum techniques, namely direct sequence and frequency hopping spread spectrum technique. Okay, let's try to understand one by one. One method of widening the bandwidth, both techniques involve widening the bandwidth. One of the generic methods involving widening of the bandwidth of an information bearing signal or data sequence involves the use of modulation. Let BK denote a binary data sequence and CK denote a pseudo noise sequence or PN sequence. Let the waveforms B of t and C of t denote their respective polar non-return to zero or NRZ representations in terms of two levels equal in amplitude and opposite in polarity, namely +1 and -1. We'll refer B of t as information signal or data signal and C of t as a PN signal. The desired modulation is achieved by applying the data signal B of t and the PN signal C of t to a product modulator or a multiplier as shown here. We know from Fourier transform theory that multiplication of two signals in time domain will generate a signal whose spectrum equals the convolution of the spectra of the two component signals. Therefore, if the message signal B of t is narrow band and the PN signal C of t is wide band, the product or the modulated signal will have a spectrum that is wide band, nearly as wide band as PN signal. Hence, in the context of our present application, the PN sequence performs the role of a spreading code. So PN sequences, which we have studied as three major types in earlier videos, have a role in spread spectrum technique of spreading the information signal. Okay, by multiplying the information bearing signal B of t by the PN signal C of t, we mean that each information bit B of t is chopped up into number of small time increments which are commonly referred to as chips. So when you try to multiply these two signals, B of t gets chopped up into small pieces of each duration Tc, where Tc refers for duration of the chip signal or PN signal. These are called as chips. Suppose that the encoder takes k information bits at a time, say either in case of block code or convolution code. It takes k information bits and generates a binary linear block code or a convolution code. The time duration available for transmitting the encode elements is k times tb. Okay, and the number of chips that occur in this time interval is k times lc. Okay, where lc is nothing but its bandwidth expansion factor. It's a ratio of bandwidth over the rate, where the rate is inversely proportional to tb, which is your bit duration, and w is inversely proportional to the chip duration, and hence w by r is equal to tb over tc, which is actually called as number of chips transmitted per symbol. So as many as lc chips are transmitted per symbol duration. Okay, so that if the encoder generates binary convolutional code or block code of rate k by n, the number of chips in that time interval ktb is also n is equal to k times lc. Okay, the total number of symbols in that interval, if it is k times tb, if we can say that the number of chips transmitted per symbol is also k times lc, which n is equal to k times lc by small relation between tc and tb. Tc over tb is 1 over lc, the inverse of this, and we know that k by n refers for the information bits and the coded bits, and hence we can easily find that n is equal to k times lc. Right? So this is how we can find out these many chips are transmitted at a symbol duration of time. Okay, how is this accomplished? We have seen that this is accomplished by chopping off the information bearing signal for with each chip being tc amount of duration. So this is with respect to, in general, obtaining a spectrum modulated signal. One method for impressing this PN sequence on the transmitted signal is to alter directly the coded bits. So altering directly the coded bits is called as direct sequence spread spectrum. All right. So this is altered. The transmitted signal is altered by performing modulative addition with the PN sequence. In case of QPSK, say in case of 4PSK, PN sequence is added, in a sense it's a modulative added with the information sequence carried in phase signal component, and a second PN sequence is added on the quadrature component. So there will be two arms in case of QPSK. In many PN spread spectrum systems, the same binary information sequence is added to the two PN sequences to form the two quadrature components. And hence QPSK signal is generated with binary information system. So in case of direct sequence spread spectrum, we are going to directly add the data signal with PN signal. The addition is with respect to modulative addition. Well, let's try to understand the actual theory behind direct sequence spectrum, in particular with the coherent QPSK. All right. So the logical output AI here, which is BPSK modulated and then a product modulated with the carrier FC. The AI is generated by taking modulo 2 addition of BI and CI. So this is a simple XOR operation. AI will be equal to 0 when BI is equal to CI, and AI is equal to 1 when BI is not equal to CI. Okay. Then this sequence is mapped into BPSK. So I'm talking about only the upper path. So the lower path is for the quadrature phase. So the upper path is refers for BPSK, simple BPSK modulated signal. All right. So this AI thus generated is mapped onto a BPSK signal by mapping AI to GI. The mapping takes place in this fashion. Whenever AI is equal to 0, it's a simple pulse with a positive amplitude. If AI is equal to 1, the pulse with negative amplitude. So where G of t represents a pulse duration of TC seconds, where TC refers for chip duration. Okay, and it can be of any arbitrary shape. We are not going to impose any particular shape at this point. All right. So finally, the carrier, the carrier, high frequency carrier has to be used as a balanced modulator to transform into a band pass signal. And we know that the low pass representation of this band pass signal can be represented as a real part of g of t into e power j2 pi fct. And for any duration, it's only these bits will keep on shifting by bit, or with integral multiples of tc. We can as well say that si of t minus itc, which is a modulated signal, can be represented as this fashion, where it refers for g of t. Whenever ai is equal to 0, the amplitude is plus g of t minus itc, so that refers to this. Whenever ai is equal to 1, this will be minus g of t minus itc, and hence this is a modulated version of the BPSK signal which is generated in the upper part. Okay. So let's try to express this modulated waveform and correspondingly the received signal in multiplication form. Okay. In terms of multiplication of PN sequence and code words. Okay. Suppose the elements of the coded sequence, coded sequence are mapped into a binary PSK signal according to the relation Ci of t is equal to 2Ci minus 1 times g of t minus itc. Similarly, the waveform Pi of t, if it is defined as 2Bi minus 1 times P of t minus itc, where this Pi of t is a rectangular pulse for every ith signal, or every ith bit of duration tc, then the equivalent low pass transmitted signal corresponding to the ith coded bit. So this is the information bit, this is a coded word. So the low pass representation corresponding to the ith coded bit can be represented as product of these two signals, Pi of t and Ci of t. So if I take product of these two, 2Bi minus 1 and 2Ci minus 1 will get multiplied, and product of these two, P of t minus itc and g of t minus itc, will be simply g of t minus itc, because this is just a binary value. Okay, so this will have the pulse shape. This signal, it's very important to note here that this signal, what we have just obtained by multiplication in multiplication form, is identical to the previously obtained relation for gi of t, but the previous obtained gi of t was with respect to modulo 2 addition. This is with respect to multiplication form of coded bits and the rectangular pulse. Okay. Consequently, modulo 2 addition of the coded bits with the PN sequence, followed by a mapping that yields a BPSK signal, is equivalent to multiplying a binary sequence of unit amplitude rectangular pulses, each of duration Tc, and with a polarity which is determined from the PN sequences as given by this equation. Okay. Although it is easier to obtain, although it is very easy to implement modulo 2 addition followed by PSK modulation instead of waveform multiplication, as you know that addition is simpler than multiplication, it is convenient for purposes of demodulation to consider the transmitted signal in the multiplicative form. Although in our case, modulo 2 addition is equivalent to representing in multiplication form, and modulo 2 addition is simpler form of representation or mathematically convenient form, we mostly be using the multiplication form with looking with respect to the demodulation part, which is easy to multiply and take out the unnecessary information. Okay, so this is the case with the transmitted picture, how we are going to modulate and send in the channel. Right. Now it's time to cover the receiver part, how we are going to take the information bit back at the receiver side. Okay. So the received equivalent low pass signal for the ith code element can be expressed as Pi of t into C of t. This is the multiplication form which is transmitted from the transmitter, gets corrupted with the noise Z of t. Okay. And we know that Pi of t into C of t that we have obtained earlier is 2Bi minus 1 into 2Ci minus 1 into G of t minus ITC. So this is either this is the our BPSK modulated signal with positive and negative pulses. Okay. Where Z of t represents the low pass equivalent noise and interference signal occupying or corrupting the information bearing signal. Okay, please make sure that the product of these two will be either +1 or -1. Accordingly, whether Bi is 0 or 1 and Ci is 0 or 1. So this is basically our BPSK signal and getting corrupted with the noise. If Z of t is a sample function from a complex valued Gaussian process, the optimum demodulator may be implemented either as a filter or a matched filter that we have known to the waveform G of t, or as a correlator. Okay. In the matched filter realization, the sample output from the matched filter is multiplied by 2Bi minus 1. So this is a sample output of the matched filter. This is multiplied with 2Bi minus 1, which is another PN sequence generator at the receiver side, which is taken from another PN sequence, which is properly synchronized with respect to that of the generator, the transmitter. Since we know that by multiplying the Ri of t, which is the sampled output of the matched filter, multiply again with 2Bi minus 1, the product 2Bi minus 1 and 2Bi minus 1, it will be 2Bi minus 1 the whole square. And when Bi is 0 and Bi is equal to 1, the effect of the PN sequence on the receiver side in the coded bits can be removed very easily because this will be 1, this will go away, Bi will go away, and since we know that the Ci is the actual the information which is embedded in the code here, and the effect of our PN sequence is chopped off, or the effect of PN sequence in the received signal can be easily removed by multiplying with 2Bi minus 1, which is generated from another PN sequence generator. Okay. This can be implemented in two ways. One is in either ways it involves a similar process. In the first structure as shown here, it involves pre-multiplying R of t with the waveform Pi of t generated from the output of the PN generator, and then cross correlating with a conjugate of G of t and sampling the output in each time interval. The each time interval here is chip interval. Okay. The second method, which is illustrated here, involves cross correlation with G star of t, R of t correlated with the complex conjugate of G of t first, sampled by taking sample at every Tc duration of time and then multiplying with 2Bi minus 1, which is obtained from the PN generator. So here first it is multiplied with PN signal generator first, then it's fed through the matched filter, and then sample is taken. Here first it is fed through the matched filter and then a sample is taken, and finally multiply with PN sequence generator. So this is interchanging of PN signal generator product and matched filter. Since these two are linear operators, we can implement it either ways. Okay. In either ways, we are going to multiply with 2Bi minus 1, which when after multiplying with 2Bi minus 1, the effect of PN sequence generator is taken out. Okay. Let's say in case A, in structure A, the matched filter operation, it continues to be a wideband signal where Ri of t, which is the sampled output, is taken every Tc duration of time, is first the convolution of R of t and Pi of t is taken. Pi of t, we know that it's a G complex conjugate of a G of ITC minus tau minus t. Then by substituting R of tau, that we know that it's a product of 2Bi minus 1, 2Ci minus 1 and G, complex conjugate with G star. plus, and we know that R of t, which is the received signal, is corrupted with additive Gaussian noise in form of Z of t, which also gets multiplied with G star of t. Then we also know that this product is independent of time. We can pull that out of the integral, which is again the continuous to be a wideband, both signal and interference parts being wideband signals. Now we'll pass this match filter output. This is a match filter output which is obtained at this point, and this is multiplied by the PN sequence generator. The PN sequence generator here is sorry, this is actually the case with structure B. I beg your pardon, which is first multiplied or sent through the matched filter. Sample is taken out, and then finally PN sequence generator is multiplied with this output, with which we will get as 2bi minus 1 into 2bi minus 1, which is either 2bi minus 1 the whole square, which will be 1 irrespective of bi0 or bi1. And we can take that, the amplitude can be taken as a 2 times EC, which is not normalized amplitude. What will be left here will be just 2C I minus 1, and with that we can say that the factor of the effect of PN sequences generator is taken out in case of information bearing signal. Okay. The second part, as we know, this will be a very wide band signal. The first part is about the information signal, which is very narrow band. The second part of this expression is a wide band signal, and hence narrow band signal, which is our desired information sequence, can easily be extracted, can easily be obtained by passing through it a simple a narrow band filter. Okay, now most of the wideband jammer or the wideband interference noise is cut off. Okay, that's how we can try to implement the receiver side to get back the narrowband information signal. Okay. Only thing is that if Z of t is not a Gaussian random process, the demodulation methods either with structure A or structure B will no longer be optimum. Nevertheless, we may still use any of these 3 demodulator structures, including the previous one, which is in general, to demodulate the received signal. Okay. When the statistical characteristics of the interference Z of t are unknown a priori, this is certainly one possible approach. Okay. There are alternate methods which use adaptive filter techniques to the matched filter or correlator to whiten the interference. Okay. We are not going to look such receivers in our course, but we are limiting to the receiver structure which involves just match filter or the correlator. Okay. This ends with implementation and understanding mathematically the structure of direct sequence spread spectrum technique, in particular with coherent QPSK. In this video, we saw the spread spectrum technique, in particular with the direct sequence spread spectrum technique, how PN sequence directly correlates or directly gets added or multiplied with information bearing signal sequence, and then it is transmitted from the transmitter end, and how it is demodulated at the receiver side. Both conceptually and mathematically we dealt in particular with coherent QPSK signal. However, we can extend with any Emery modulated signals that we know in general. Thank you.